Hi all, my name's Wade Bell. Welcome to this online chat with Smash. I'll introduce our guest in a moment, but before I do, just want to recognise the sponsors of Smash because they always play a key part in being able to deliver these events. So to our sponsors, Dairy NZ, BNZ, Balance, FMG, New Zealand Grazing, LIC, Barenbrug and Pioneer. We want to put a shout out to them for sponsoring Smash. And as I said at the start, my name's Wade Bell, part of the Smash committee, and also have a role with Pioneer. So I'm quite excited to actually hook into this chat. So Stephen, welcome along. Nice to have you with us.
Thanks, Wade. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So I am really looking forward to this chat because I came across you obviously about 12 or 15 months ago through the Dairy Industry Awards, and no doubt that'll be part of your little intro, mate. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and where you farm?
Yeah. So Stephen Smyllie, 27 years of age. Farming in Te Aroha at the moment. We're contract milking with my wife, 330 cows and 100 hectares. We've been here 4 years contract milking, and I've got a 2-year-old son and another one due in February. So absolutely love it. Absolutely loving.
So you got your hands full.
What we've been doing on the journey.
Yeah, nice. And before we hook in, obviously you were part of the Dairy Industry Awards last year. Do you want to, before we get into the content, do you want to just tell us a little bit about that briefly?
Yeah. So I'll go into the background, I guess, on my farming career. So out of high school, I went to Lincoln Uni and did a diploma in agriculture. And that was just the opportunity to do a 1-year course and still leave with a qualification. And did that for a year. Absolutely loved what I was doing, but I thought I'd better go farming, make sure it's actually what I wanted to do. I went and started working for Landcorp in Ngātia for the iwi and the share milking agreement there. Started the farm assistant there, and I guess that's where my journey progressed from. Entered dairy trainee of the year there, and I guess that was just a good outline in the whole broad spectrum of the dairy industry, and really got me engaged in it, and opened my eyes up, I guess, to the career opportunities that there were. Following on, after a couple of years, I moved down to the Hawke's Bay Wairarapa in a 2IC role, and I guess it's just chasing the career progression and opportunity. I entered the Dairy Industry Awards as a 2IC. I entered the Dairy Manager of the Year, and I guess what the Dairy Industry Awards have done for me is it's the specific judging criteria, and it just makes you look into every single aspect of the business. And so as a 2IC, it allowed me, like, a manager was the next step that I wanted to go to. So it just meant that it was covering every single thing that I needed to know when I wanted to take that next step. Entering it as a 2IC, still managed to take out the Manager of the Year, which helped hugely to our career progression. Skipped straight from 2IC into this contract milking place that we are here. It was a very calculated jump, I guess, making sure that we weren't going to bite off too much more that we could chew. We've got a real supportive farm owner here who helps us out whenever we need any advice or guidance. Entering Share Farmer of the Year as a contract milker, again, it was just really diving into our business using that judging criteria. I didn't expect to do any well. It was more just knowing the benefits I'd get out of it. That's going to help our business going forward, things that we could improve on. We managed to place runner-up in the Share Farmer of the Year and take out a few merit awards, the Sustainable Pasture, Leadership, and Team Management, something along those lines. Real proud of our achievements.
Yeah, no, bloody well done. With that sort of plug for the Dairy Industry Awards, mate, they should be a sponsor as well. Carry on, mate.
Yeah, just like the way I look at it is, like, there was always people telling me, oh, you probably shouldn't enter that because you're only a 2IC or you're just contract milking. But it's like, I'd just challenge anyone to give it a go, because like what you'll learn about it for being able to take that next step in your career, you might surprise yourself. But it's there's nothing but positives to come out of entering, is what I found.
Yeah, nice one. Look, we'll and I guess leading into what we're going to talk about today, so going to cover off a couple of things that are hot on people's minds at the moment. So feed management and repro are the two kind of topics that we're going to get into. I do invite our listeners to jump on and in the comments section ask any questions. We'll try and cover those as we go. But can you just give us this little bit of an overview of the farm itself, just so people know the context of what you're farming?
Yeah, so as I make my way down the list, so we're 98 hectares effective, farming 325 cows. The farm owner does own his own runoff, but that's solely for the purpose of rearing his own replacements. All the silage that's cut there is for the replacements. It's a standalone farm. On top of the 98 hectares, what we do have is a 4.5 hectare paddock support block, and that just goes from annual into maize every year. 325 Kiwi cross cows. The BW of 318, PW of 381. So this herd's in the top 2%. It's a third generation farm, and breeding's always been a priority for our farm owners. 3.3 cows per hectare. Producing around the 470 mark per cow, 1,500 solids a hectare. Spring calving, it's 270 days in milk. And so, I guess we've got a short window to produce as much milk as we can. We've got a real focus on just body condition score. Is basically the whole business is based around that, getting cows back in calf, and getting milk before Christmas is our priority there. And the key to being profitable, I guess. We only grow 4.5 hectares of maize on the farm. Yes, pretty high pasture production because we've got some pretty strategic management, which we'll cover off shortly. 32 side herringbone in shed feeding. We can basically feed 4 kgs of PK in the shed up until the start of mating, and then we drop it down to 3 kgs at the start of mating, and we'll be able to feed that for the rest of the season. Just that's pretty much the rundown of it.
Pretty much the run of it. Yeah, no, that's hey, look, a very high producing, fairly traditional kind of spring calving system. And you've got a few kind of strategic kind of sort of focus areas that we're gonna dig into shortly. Can you give us the sort of the summary of how the season's sort of tracking along from a production point of view at the moment? These sort of graphs kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yes. So this season on the graph there, you'll see that we're the black line. So obviously compared to last year, we're doing significantly better. In a few days, we'll tick over being 10,000 solids ahead. And so the red line there, that was our first season here, and that was actually a farm record that we set in that year. But I guess to explain the story of those 4 lines is that first year we set a farm record, but we had a 19% empty rate. After that, we put our main focus, and I guess we set our goals towards that. What was going to get us going forward and get us those next best opportunities was we wanted an 80% 6-week in calf rate and a 9% empty rate, and that was going to be our golden ticket to be able to get the best jobs. So from then on, I guess we put a focus on getting those cows in calf, and once a day clostrums was the first strategy we implemented. So I guess for those next 2 years, that's why the peak, I would say, would be significantly less. I would put that down to the once a day clostrums as opposed to twice a day. Last year, the blue line was obviously just a horrendous winter. We could only have cows in the paddock for 4 hours daily kind of thing. A lot of standing off. We've got a rubber matted yard. So it just took a long time to get going that spring. And I guess, that year, because we hadn't had a great start, and we thought I would hate to have a bad start, bad production year, and not have a good in calf rate. So what we did there, that blew the big dip you can see halfway through there. We put all our young stock once a day pre-mating. And I think, that was one of the key decisions we made.
So people, I don't know if you can see that. So is this where we're talking here? This is where this little bit of a dip
so that was
is
putting. So typically we just focus on our at-risk animals that are identified through body condition score. But for this particular year, I just wanted to. If there's ever going to be a year we're going to do it, I thought this is a chance. We'll just see what's going to happen. And so we obviously lost a lot of production right there. But by late November, we were doing the same production. You can see at the end of that graph there, anyway, as if we had kept them twice a day. So
nice.
That was,
and you've got quite a nice little response here too with the black line and this early season production. got off to a real flyer. So something obviously happened reasonably well with the repro and got a fairly good calving rate.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely been a work in progress, and I guess we've been improving from a 74% 6 week and calf rate to 77 to 79. So it's just chasing that 1 or 2% a year, just all those little things coming together that are kind of all tallying up, and the cows calving slightly earlier the previous years, helping us get those cows cycling earlier, and everything's kind of coming together to hopefully this year we can finally crack that 80%. But
well,
at the same time, you'll see from those herd test averages there that so from the first week of September, basically, we've been averaging 2.5 solids a cow. At the moment, we've dropped down to 2.3, 2.35, but we've got 60 to 65 cows once a day that were our at-risk animals. And we're still averaging 2.3. So the real challenge is, and that what I've been worried about is, with the cows producing so well, the challenge is trying to get them back in calf. And
and we'll come on to how the repro side of it's tracking along for the season to date shortly. But before we do, and getting into the kind of the nuts and bolts of, so you have some pretty impressive or some very impressive kind of performance numbers around that farm grow and feed, and I guess listeners will be curious as to know, how do you do that? Other than the quality of the farm is one part of it, but the quality of the management is key. So can you just talk us through a little bit about sort of what you do to achieve that? And specifically, I want to kind of zero in on this sort of phase that we're in at the moment, which is the sort of the late spring and kind of how that's managed to sort of protect the summer a wee bit as well.
Yeah. So I guess how this farm operates, and we've learned a lot from our farm owner that's here, but it was always done by eye, and he never actually put a number on anything. So our challenge coming in here was figuring out the number that matches the eye, I guess, to how this farm has operated so successfully in the past. And so doing farm walks every 3 to 4 days at the peak of it is essentially how I manage that and what we figured it out. So what we're doing here on farm is we're strategically targeting 3,300 to 3,800 pre-grazings, and that's year round. So specifically this time of year, we're targeting between 3,300 and 3,500.
Yeah.
Our average cover at the plan started calvings 2,900, and that's high, but we're wintering everything on. Pretty much, all grass system at that time of year. We target a 2,500 cover at balance date, 2,700 average cover the first week of December, and we do that by using strategic round of nitrogen to increase our pre-grazing covers and keep it good quality. Our theory is that we can feed, we've got 3.3 cows per hectare, and we're trying to feed our cows as much as we possibly can. And the key to maintaining quality is obviously those regular farm walks. Having a 2,500 cover at balance date, it's the grass grows grass philosophy. So I guess having a higher cover, we have significantly higher growth rates than other farmers. We shut up our stack earlier than other people, cut silage before other people, before the contractors get busy. It just gives us a lot of leeway, I guess, in that spring rotation planner period. And we just love to cut silage. We're only growing 4.5 hectares of maize on the platform, so if we can get an extra cut of silage in, we're just really looking to utilize that as our tool, I guess, for summer management. And it's a lot less of a window. Like we can pretty much go from skipping over it to cutting it within a week. Basically, we're not waiting for them to grow a good bulk crop because it's pretty much already there.
I was going to say those high covers, because those are traditionally higher covers than what you would kind of normally recommend. So I guess the thing that springs to my mind is the risk there, though, that you switch from kind of a pasture deficit situation in spring to pasture surplus, like almost in a heartbeat. How quickly are you getting into surplus?
So we if we're cutting silage after balance date, like that's no worries at all. Like our farm owner loves to cut silage. Like that's our feed for the summer. And so there's absolutely no issues there. When you're in a hole, like you would wish nothing more than to have that grass on hand. So just those weekly farm walks is making sure I'm keeping the quality, and we know exactly what we've got and the options around what we're going to do with it. So And
So the other
like
thing,
people,
the other point that you and I have kind of had a conversation around is with those high pre-grazings, and particularly now, like how are you managing your area allocation and your intakes and that kind of thing? So where we are now, 21st of October, how does that all kind of mechanically work out on the farm at the moment as we speak?
so we know at balance date, basically, we're going to be feeding 130 meters squared a cow, and that puts us on a 23 day round. And essentially, anything as the growth rate exceeds 80, that's when we're looking to drop out our silage. And so, with our 2,500 average cover is what we'll sit at for most of the season. Like our average growth rate will be sitting at 100 to 120 after balance date kind of thing. So we can get down to kind of a 14, 18 day round. And
Wow.
that means we can drop out kind of 20 hectares silage at a time. We'll do a cut and stack it for our first one, and then we try and just drop out smaller areas for bales after that, just so there's not as much risk if it dries out that we're going to have a big area.
Yeah.
The challenge, I guess, is we run calves in the middle of our round, and so when you've got a mob of 30 calves going into a 2,600 cover paddock a week before you graze it, they're taking a fair bit of a sting out of it. So yeah, that's a challenge as well. So we're making sure we've always got enough grass there. We'll touch on, I guess, I don't know if that's the segue into our strategic pre-mowing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I guess, yeah. So, and keeping in mind, so this is a pretty top genetic herd, and our farm owner has focused on capacity as a big thing for him. So it's an F9, F10 herd, would be the average, and just these are cows that are bred to eat grass and put it away, and yeah. So because we're targeting those high pre-grazings, high growth rates, like we'll have paddocks growing anywhere from 100 to 150, and then you'll have other paddocks growing at 50. And so for me to be on top of my game, I guess that's where the farm walks come every 3 to 4 days. That's if we're growing. Once we're growing basically 90 a day is when I'll be doing that many farm walks. When it comes to cutting silage, I will do a farm walk the day before I cut it, the day before we're stacking it, just to make sure I know exactly where we are. If I need to graze into a couple of those paddocks, like it's not in the stack till it's in the stack. So it's just always knowing exactly the position we're in. And things do change very quickly when you're growing over 100 a day for the whole spring, basically.
Yeah.
We're always back fencing. We're lucky we've got really good subdivisions, so there's always troughs in the front and back of the paddocks. Strategic mowing, I guess, is a big thing that we use. It allows us to manage our higher covers, ensuring that we've got quality residuals for regrowth. Our theory is we can offer more pasture per cow. What we find is the cows spend less time and energy grazing and more time ruminating. And I know people say ruminating doesn't lead to increased production, but if you know that the quality of the grass they're eating is good, if they're sitting down ruminating, then that is well and truly a benefit in my eyes. We only actually mow half the break, so we'll do 6 or 7 laps around the outside, and what we find is the cows will go in and hoover that up, and then you never actually have to mow the middle, or very rarely, because the cows actually have more time in their day to chew that down. And I guess, looking at it, so we're on 130 meters squared a cow, so that's 4.2 hectares a day for 324 cows. If we were entering a 3,000 pre-grazing cover, that would be offering 18 kgs per cow. If we're going into 3,300 pre-grazing covers, that means that we're offering 22 kgs per cow. And so we know from feed samples that we can still grow 12.5 ME pasture, it's 18% dry matter, and it's been interesting to benchmark it compared to, say, Owl Farms dry matter. They've been sitting around 12 to 14% all season, but targeting those higher pre-grazing covers as well. I mean, 18% dry matter.
You've got a slightly more mature plant.
Yeah, which at that time of the year in the spring flush, I think it helps. And then you take that up to 3,500 at 4.2 hectares a day, your pre-grazing cover. That's the opportunity to offer 25 kilos a cow, and obviously we don't expect our cows to be able to clean that up. That's where the pre-mowing comes in. And I guess, because we've got calves in the middle of the round, your high stuff's higher, your short stuff's shorter. So I guess it is really balancing that out. Targeting 1,600 to 1,700 residuals, like a 1,700 residual, I'd say only about 10% of the paddock would actually have those big clumps. The whole rest of the paddock is actually amazing quality. So when we just come through with the mower, I reckon it just adds that little bit extra fibre or something or other to their diet, and they hoover it all up. So I'm not worried at all about that selection that they're missing out on, because with the farm walks we know that it's good quality. Otherwise we're skipping it for silage.
Because that was a conversation that you and I had before, Stephen. When the research that's been done around this is when the pros and cons of pre-mowing, right? So you on the pros side is you get that quality for the next rotation. Intake generally increases because you've kind of wilted the grass a little bit, but on the downside you remove some of that selection, the selection that animals can have just by sort of going through and picking and choosing the best quality feed. So the kind of the net benefit, if you like, is from that research was actually there's relatively little benefit in the pre-mowing. What are your thoughts around that? I know you've got a slightly different perspective, so I'm keen to hear
it. Yeah. So I think the Dairy NZ research, a lot of that was based around mowing the whole break and every single grazing round. So for us, it's a very strategic tool that we use to manage. We've got the calves in the round, so we're countering, I guess, that pasture and giving the calves the best chance. And so like the cows could never clean up 100% after that, especially after a wet winter. In terms of selection, like we're trying to manage our grass pretty efficiently. Like all the stuff that's there is pretty bloody good quality. So if we can help pre-mow it and get it into them faster, then all they're doing is eating more good quality pasture essentially. Anything that does get a bit rough, we can always lock it up for silage. Like we're happy to cut as much silage as we can. Like what gets us through a dry summer, I guess, is having that good bulk feed. I think people get caught up on that 1 ME quality or 2 ME, but for us, if you can get an extra 2 or 3 kgs down the cow at 10 ME and still hold your pasture quality, that's where we're getting the benefits. And so I just see a comment there about the worrying about losing ME with cows going into longer covers. It's because we're pre-mowing, it's like going into a beautiful silage paddock, freshly cut, the next time the cows go in there. So we'll only actually pre-mow every 2 or 3 grazing rounds, and only half the paddock. So, and it allows us to have 3.5 cows a hectare, and offer them 22 to 25 kilos a cow.
Yeah, nice. And do you want to pick up on the other comment or question there about the frequency in which you're shifting those calves?
Right, so our calves on milk, we're shifting them every second day, and any wean calves, we're shifting them every day, and they're still getting 1.5 kilos a meal. And our farm owner, they will eventually all go off. So a 30 have just gone off to the runoff. And so as the silage paddocks that he's cut there come back in, those calves will slowly head off. And so by December, we'll only have the last 12 calves, but basically the slow ones will stay here right till January kind of thing, and we'll just focus on keeping them here. But we've got basically 30 calves in the mob grazing a 1 hectare paddock. Like they'll knock it back by 200 kind of thing in a day. So you've got to keep them going every day.
So a sort of summary to this sort of phase that we're in at the moment. Your silage is coming out, your bulk silage is coming out early. You're kind of strategically then picking up any kind of later surpluses with by baling, and then you're using, as those areas come back in, the round length goes out, the nitrogen goes in, and you start to try and push a little bit higher cover and slightly longer residuals into the summer. Is that have I missed something?
So what's that?
Have I missed anything, or is that kind of the plan from here forward?
Yeah, so we'll be sitting on that 2,500 cover, and then just that strategic round of in November that goes on following the cows. So our farm owner puts the third on like within a couple of days after it's been grazed, and so although some of those paddocks will come up faster than the paddocks that haven't had the third on, we're just grazing off all the paddocks that haven't had fert in the rotation order essentially, and then that just leaves us with beautiful lush grass. It stops it going to seed head coming into December, and we'll push out to 100 meters squared a cow. We can still offer 18 kilos of grass. We don't even have to add any supplement. We've still got our PK going in on top of that, and generally the leaders drop a bit, but the fat goes up, and we just keep sailing on. So we are offering PK year round. But essentially, having such high genetic cows, they should be able to convert that to profit better than anyone else's cows. So we see that as a real benefit in terms of energy and the fat and the milk, keeping it up.
Yeah. Yep. And the proof is in the
Yeah, so
yield curve
your
that we saw.
photos there is a good example.
Yep. Is this taken from
Yeah,
recently?
and so yeah, we're
this,
still averaging 2.3 solids a cow. Yeah, so that was literally 2 days ago where that mower is, and so like that paddock there would plate me to 4,000 easy, and
Yeah.
and so that was 160 cows getting 0.8 of a hectare for their night break. And I guess it was just I could see the damage the cows were doing in the middle of the round. So instead of locking it up for silage, I'm just kind of chewing through at the moment. And then we've just had another mob of calves go to the runoff, so that'll free up a bit of breathing room where we will be able to lock up some more silage in the meantime. But another thing I was going to point out was that because people say, oh, there's no way that you have your cows going into that much grass, right? But so I use the plate meter formula times 125 plus 640. And so what that does is it keeps your residuals up to 2,000, exactly the same as the standard pre-grazing formula. But from 2,000 down, it takes up to 200 less, I guess, for what the standard formula would read. So I'm actually reading these paddocks at what would be less.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But
So
and
you're getting down to the detail.
yeah. So and on the right there, you can see that. So that was a paddock that would have been 3,800 easily. And so I've mowed the outside, and the cows have really chewed into the middle, and that's where the calves have spent at least a day in there, picking off all the good stuff. But the cows have still hoovered down the stuff on the outside. I'm not trying to mow any earlier. I just mow before the cows go in there, give myself enough time to mow and get set up for milking. I mow for the next morning, just after the night milking. I'm not trying to wilt the grass so they can eat more or anything. It's just a matter of if I mow it, they shock me every time the amount that they can actually hoover down into them.
Yeah, that looks pretty tidy. Looks a pretty tidy job on the right hand side.
Yeah, and so next round I won't have to do any mowing. Anything over that 3,300 we'll pretty much just lock up for silage, and it's just resetting after a wet winter. We're still able to send the cows into high pre-grazing covers, keeping them fully fed, like they don't just go and turn the paddock to mud. And then it just means this is us cleaning up after the spring, after the calves, and then we're reset, good to go.
Yeah, nice. Hey, I'm going to keep us moving because I know some listeners will want to have a tune into your repro story. Frank, I see there's a question there just around the pasture and crop heat, and it was in one of the earlier slides. I'll jump back here just so that so homegrown feed eaten 15.7 tons. I don't know, is that out of Farm Insights or one of dairy base or something like that?
That's the figure I pulled out of our Farm Insight report. And so what that wouldn't take into account, because that obviously just goes off your production, and I'm not sure what goes into it, but that probably doesn't account that we haven't actually fed out grass silage for 2 years. So we've got 2 years worth of stacks sitting there ready to go. So if we do have a dry year this year, then that's all going to help.
You're all armed and ready.
It's all pasture that was harvested that wasn't eaten, but so it wasn't in their calculation essentially. But it's from entering our farm walk data into Farm IQ, like our paddocks were growing between, it says 18 and 22 tons a year, basically. If you think about it, we're growing an extra 500 to 1,000 kgs of dry matter every single time that we're sending the cows into those paddocks. That's if we were comparing a 2,800 pre-grazing to a 3,300. So I guess year round, and just that bulk feed to get through the summer. When you've got a dry summer, like you want bulk feed, not quality kind of thing. So you want both. You can do both.
Want both. Yeah,
that's
right.
It's a lot of farm walks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, look, just want to jump into the repro side of things just very quickly. So your strategy, do you want to just quickly summarize your repro strategy, and then we'll get into just finishing off with the results sort of to date?
Yeah. So spring calving. So we're fortunate that our farm owner, he does AI for 3 weeks on the heifers. The top 80% over there, he'll do AB on, and the bottom 20% just goes straight out with the bulls. And so that means that we only have to do 3.5 weeks of AB on the farm here. We put the top 80% up to forward pack, which is Kiwi cross semen. Then we do half a week of Murray Grey beef marker before Jersey bulls go out, and it's a 9-week total mating. The Jersey bulls are solely for the fact of just our priority is that in calf rate, and we want these cows to have an easy calving, and because they're all our later calvers, and be able to get them back in calf early next year, hopefully in calf to AB.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
It's
so it's
just
a
that
pretty short mating period at 9 weeks, or relatively short. Do you want to just give us the summary of results? Because I know this has been a real focus area for you,
yeah.
and the not in calf rate's been a highlight in particular.
Yeah, so you'll see, so we've been on this farm since 2021. Prior to that, they were doing all AB year round. So you'll see the 6-week in calf rate there, we've gone from 74, 77 to 79. So, and the empty rate from 19%, 12%, 9%. So every year making all those little changes definitely have been working in our favour. Yeah, I guess it's going to come down to, we'll talk about our strategy, but all of it just comes down to managing our body condition score and really focusing on those at-risk animals. And I guess it's from when you dry off is where it starts counting from. We really make sure we're setting up for next season. As soon as our pregnancy scanning's done, mid to late January, we've got cows that are averaging 1.5 milk solids plus, and those empty cows will get sold as in milk cows basically. And it's just our farm policy essentially that our farm owner's done for years, and we're just focusing on the feed that we've got is feeding our in-calf cows that are going to be here for next season. We stay on that 100 meters squared per cow as those culls go, and that just pushes our round length out. We winter everything on farm. Heifers come back on the 25th. Sorry, I'm getting carried away on the grazing side of things, but I guess that's how we're managing our grass to winter everything on. And I guess our target is our farm owner wants us to be at body condition score 5 for our cows, 5.5 for the heifers on the 1st of June, because we're feeding all grass all winter. So I guess we've got a real focus there. And that means drying off heifers in February, basically when that body condition score takes place. So we use a vet, Katrina Roberts from Anexa, and so she makes sure she's nice and harsh on the animals because that's what's going to give them the best chance. That's not me just saying, oh look, we're doing an amazing job. That's an independent eye, and we both have to agree on that, me and our farm owner. What I will say is here it looks like we've done an amazing job, and it does look good, but what you don't understand is from them putting this in their calculator, we actually had 107 animals that were still at risk of not getting back in calf. And so how they figure that out is it's cows that either calved in a less than body condition score 5. I've just got it written down here, sorry. Heifers,
Yeah, no, that's good.
Heifers and 3-year-olds that calved in less than 5.5, cows that are now body condition score 4 or less than 4, heifers that are less than 4.5, animals that have lost more than 1 body condition score since calving, our late calvers that have already lost more than 1 body condition score, cows that are doing over 3 kgs of milk solids at our herd test that have lost more than half a body condition score, heifers that are doing 2 kgs of milk solids on a herd test that have lost more than half a body condition score, and any September calvers. So that's the difference between the planned start of calving, the importance of doing the planned start of calving body condition score, and then doing our planned start of mating. That means we know exactly how much each individual cow has lost, and we can focus on those cows. And then so those at-risk animals we go through, and the any young high PW animals that we really want to get back in calf, they'll go on once a day. Is our main strategy.
So that if I've got my mental picture right here, it's almost like a bit of a matrix of once you've got the condition score, you're overlaying the condition score, the body condition score, the condition score loss trends, then with other potential risk management factors such as very high production, or the fact whether they're heifers or cows, or whatever other variables you want to sort of cross-reference that information with.
Yeah, and so our vets just have basically a spreadsheet that they put that data in, and it just spits it out and tells us what cows are at risk, and from there we can go through and have a look and make that decision for ourselves. And so one of the things from our first year here to last year, we had a 19% empty rate that first year, and so because of COVID, we didn't actually have our planned starter calving body condition score. And so one of the things that could have played into it, those later cows, like we still had a 56% 3-week in calf rate, but it was the later cows that weren't getting in calf. So we could kind of put that somewhat down to that we didn't actually know those at-risk animals, although at the planned start of mating they were still in good nick, they could have been a lot higher and lost a lot more, which is what put them at risk. So just got a real focus on that, I guess.
Yeah, nice. And just sort of pulling that together now into the here and now. Just to finish with, how's this kind of table tells the story so far. Do you want to just sort of speak to to this mating? How many days in are we now? 11 days in or something?
Yeah, so we're 11 days in and put up 200 cows of 324. I guess the big spike there is we do pre-mating heat, so we're using tail paint and scratchies to identify our cows on heat. But as well as that, and the main thing we're doing is we intensely monitor the cows. So every morning when we go let the cows out, we're watching them. When we shut them away, we're watching them. We're checking them at lunchtime, checking them before milking, and that's where we're picking up on the small details. We've got a 6 o'clock AB text, so I hate waiting around for a text. So I said, yeah, what time do we have to be your first on your farm? And so when we know our cow's on, we know it's on, and we know they're getting inseminated right then and there, so that helps us make the right decision. Previously, we've had afternoon texts, and that means we could watch our cows all day, so we know exactly who we're putting up at the right time. We use our tail paint to do pre-mating heats, and with that, at the start of this month, we basically identified we had up to 120 cows that hadn't cycled yet. So we worked out I guess we normally do 40 to 60 seeders a year, and that's those young high PW cows that haven't cycled yet. We typically have around 50 to 60% conception rate with our seeders, so a lot of those cows probably would have ended up cycling naturally. It's more just getting them to actually cycle in that first week to give us that head start, and if they don't get in after that, they get those extra couple of opportunities. And I mean, there's a cost to seeders, but when your cows are peaking at 2.5 solids a cow in the first week of September, it well and truly pays off. And ideally, the sooner that these cows are calving, the earlier they can recover, and hopefully we'll have less cows that aren't cycling by our planned start of mating. But at the same time, when they're producing so well, it's kind of, if we need to intervene to help them get back in calf, then we're going to do that. We're going to put them on once a day. We then, at our next herd test, we pregnancy test in the milk for all our cedar cows, and anyone that's not on once a day that's not pregnant, that we'll then put them on once a day. So just constantly monitoring and reviewing everything we're doing. And we need 12 cows a day to get 100% basically by our 3-week submission rate. So that's what we're going to target on at the moment.
Yeah, you're kind of blowing that target away at the moment. So long may it continue.
It just means that week 3 will be really quiet if we keep this up, because it's how it goes. So at some point it's going to slow down, and hopefully the returns aren't there. So
yeah, nice. Did I hear right that you said that there were 120 cows non-cycling at the pan starter mating? That would have been quite a high number that were non-cycling.
No, that wasn't planned starter mating. So that was around the 30th of September. That would have been. So that's when we identified them, and that's when we selected who we wanted to seeder. And then over the course of the weekend, 10 of those cows had naturally cycled anyway, and then so we obviously took them off the list. And so it was just, that was how we're identifying who we're going to put up for seeder, because typically every year we'll do 30 to 40. This year was 60, but you were just given a big push this year.
Yeah, nice. So it's off to a very good start. And I guess you've obviously had it looks like you've had a slightly faster calving rate on the back of last year. So do you feel like some of that's playing into your favor with just a high? I guess you get more opportunity for that cycling activity prior to the planned starter mating. You're seeing the benefits sort of flow through into this year. It looks like you are.
Definitely seeing it in the milk. And I guess, if you went back to that graph at the start, you'll see our milk curve there. And I put a lot of that down to the twice-a-day colostrums as well. Obviously is a faster calving, but compared to the year before, I guess it's only 1 or 2% in that first 6 weeks. I guess 5% in the first 3 weeks, that makes a difference. But it's just so much is just on the season you get dealt with, I guess, to how things are going, whether how wet that winter is or how kind the spring is. So it's just taking everything in its stride as it is. But it has those empty rates and in calf rates has really allowed us to selectively cull as well. So we're really obviously seeing those benefits coming through as well, because we're making sure we've got those good cows coming through.
Yeah, you're not getting caught out on age structure or animals that are struggling a little bit with as they get a bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Hey, look, we're pretty much done for time. Really appreciate you coming on. You know, the thing that jumps out at me, and it did, you know, when you entered the Dairy Industry Awards, you know, incredibly focused. You know, there's quite a high level of that sort of attention to detail. You know, kind of, yeah, you're out there kind of monitoring what's going on, you know, adjusting your farm management decisions, whether it be around feed management, around repro, around other aspects of your business as well. But really impressive stuff. Love what you're doing. Appreciate the fact that you jumped online to share your story briefly with us. So, you know, hopefully people got a few little tips and some insights into what you're up to. So thanks heaps for jumping online with us, mate.
Oh, no, thanks for hosting. And yeah, to give people an idea of my Dairy Awards presentation, Wade basically had to listen to me speak for 2 hours without taking a breath non-stop. So I think we've done pretty well to condense
You've
it
done
down
pretty,
to 40
yeah,
minutes.
100%. Yeah, 100%, mate. You did a top job. So so thanks heaps. Just a quick mention again to our sponsors: Dairy NZ, BNZ, Balance, FMG, Pioneer, Barenbrug, LIC, and New Zealand Grazing. Thanks to them also for their sponsorship of Smash, and look forward to everyone tuning in again next time. Thanks very much, Stephen. Have a great day, everyone.
Yes.